All right, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Committee of the Whole meeting for Monday, June the 23rd. It is 6 p.m. Just a reminder that this meeting is being recorded for the public viewing. With that, calling the meeting in order. We have a small modification to the agenda this evening. Just before closed, I would like to allow Councillor Latore to make a statement before we go into closed, if everybody's okay with that. Can I have a motion to accept the agenda, please?
So moved.
So moved by Councillor Thorne, seconded by Councillor Bannister. Questions to the motion? No questions of the motion, all in favor? Aye. As reminded, motion carried. With that, we have the conflict of interest forms in the middle of the table. If you have any conflicts this evening, please fill that in and pass it into the clerk stating the reason. With that, we'll move on to item number 4 and new business, item 4.1, presentation of the 2024 municipal financial statements. And I will ask you to come forward. Seems like we're doing a lot of these lately.
Getting toward his meeting.
Yes.
So I assume everyone, I think, received a copy. So I will first go through kind of housekeeping, audit results, and then I'll go to the statements. If you have any questions, you can either ask them as I go or I can initially talk to you guys. So first off, I'd like to confirm that EY audited the financial statements of the municipality, which is for the year ending December 31st, 2024. Also a reminder that internally you use fund accounting, you have operating fund, utility fund, and the capital funds, but your audited statements are based on the public sector accounting standard that we call PSAS. There's a lot of adjustments that are made kind of arrive to your final audited statements. So throughout the audit, we had really good cooperation from Diane, Austin, and the team, so that went really well. I confirm that EY is independent. Salisbury, we need to stay independent. And also throughout our audit, we always need to set a materiality level, which means the amount that anything above we would have to issue a qualified opinion. So materiality this year was due for 200,000, and our Fed that we call, which is 5% of that amount, is 10,000. So anything above 10,000 had to be either adjusted, or we need to advise that they were not. So this year, there were 3 unadjusted differences. So after a while, we just kind of stop adjusting. So the total of the unadjusted differences net out to 26,000, so it's really minimal under your PSAS audited statements. So that being said, so the first thing on page 1 or 3, I guess, of the PDF is our independent auditor's report that confirms that we did audit the financial statements of the municipality as at December 31st, 2024. And in our opinion, the financial statements present fairly in all material respects the financial position of the municipality as at December 31st, 2024. So that means that we have a clean opinion, meeting the standards were met under PSAS. And also you see it's in draft form, because tonight they're being presented, but they're just being approved July 14th. So we always need to make audit procedures up to the issue date, and if it's approved July 14th, that's when our auditor's report will be signed. If we go on page 3 of the statement of operations and accumulated surplus, so you have the budgeted amount, which are detailed in note 4, and a reminder that the budgeted amounts have been adjusted to be under PSAS. So they're a little bit different than looking for under fund accounting or what was issued to the province. So for 2024, your total revenue under PSAS were 10.6 million. There were 6.1 in the prior year. So you'll see you were over the budgeted revenue of around 3.5 million and quite higher than 2023. The main reason in 2024, as you may recall, you had a lot of capital projects and you had a lot of government grants. So under PSAS, your audited statements, any grant that you receive that are for capital projects, they're recorded as revenue. But you'll see that the capital project, the expense is not expensed in this year. So it makes for years that the municipality has a lot of grants for capital projects, makes that under PSAS, you have a high kind of draw if you're under a surplus. And this was the case in 2024 for Salisbury, having a lot of capital asset grant. We had over 2.8 million of capital asset grant in 2024. Compared to 2023, where there was not a whole lot. And also the property tax or the word of assessment that we call went up in 2024. So it was 6,495,000, another increase compared to 2023. Now, if you look at your expenses, and these have been adjusted once again for PSAT, so your total expenses for the year were 6.8 million. They were 5.59 the year before, so around $1 million more in expenses. And you were a little bit under budget when we compare to what was budgeted under PSAT. So that makes your annual surplus at 4 million for 2024, compared to 567,000 in 2023. But once again, that's not 4 million cash in the bank. Those funds were used for capital projects. It's just how it's presented in your statements. Now, if we move on to the statement of change in net debt. So the municipality was starting the year with an annual surplus of 4 million. Here we see how much capital assets were purchased or that the municipality invested in against 2024, so 6.7 million. So 6.7 million went toward capital projects in 2024, which is the bulk. And then under PSAS, we report amortization. So we kind of take a percentage of all your assets and expenses annually. So in 2024, we spent 600,000. So it makes the change in net debt a negative 2,084,000, and then which comes to the net debt at the end of the year at 2.1 million. And that number we'll see on the next page, which is your statement of financial position, or also called the balance sheet. So the statement of financial position is really a picture of December 31st, how much assets you had and how much debt you had. So it's really at a specific point in time. So your financial assets total 2.9 million, and they were 2.2 million the year before. And the main item for your cash is pretty much the same, and your accounts receivable. So accounts receivable were higher in 2024 because you had more grants receivable and also more HST receivable because you had a lot of capital projects. The 2.9. And then in terms of your liabilities, there's always accounts payable. They were a little bit higher again because of the capital projects. Deferred revenue, that's with the former gas tax fund, now it's a CCPF, the Canada Community
Building Fund.
That's at 383,000. That's what that amount is for deferred revenue. And then your long-term debt, which is the total debt at the end of December, we're 4.2 million. So we'll see note 11 in detail on that today. So if you take all your assets and we subtract your liabilities, you'll see it comes to your net debt of the 2.1 million that we saw on the prior page. And then in terms of non-financial assets, so here is where we record all your capital assets that the municipality invested in throughout the years, minus the amortization that has been taken. So the net value was 18.3 million. So if you take your net debt and you add your capital asset, it creates an accumulated surplus of 12.3 years. Now, if we move on to the statement of cash flow, so here it's a reconciliation of your surplus that you saw in the statement of operations, and we reconcile to the bank account at the end of the year. So it's really for the 12 months, kind of where the cash went. So you had your surplus of 4 million, and then there's always some receivables or payables, so it brought it down to 3.8. And then as we saw, you invested 6.6 million in capital assets, which funds went out. And then you receive some long-term debt for 3.6 million. Of that 3.6 million, there's 747 that went to pay off the short-term debt, short-term financing that you had taken in 2023. Got a debenture for that amount in 2024. And the rest is new financing that you received from the RBC for the fire hall. That's the main of your. And then you repaid 147,000 on the loan, which makes the change in cash of 116,000 for the year. Now, if we keep going in terms of the notes, there was no new standards that impacted the municipality statements. So we'll go through the notes. And ones, they're all the same. Note 4 is your reconciliation of the budget that shows what you had submitted to the province versus what is presented under PSAS. Note 5 is where you see the reconciliation of your audited statements to your fund surplus or fund deficit. So you'll see at the bottom, annual surplus for the province of New Brunswick. So I'm confirming that your general operating fund, you finished the year with a surplus of 106,446. And your utility operating fund, you see at the bottom, that was a deficit of 42,411. So if we kind of net them together as a whole, it's like a surplus of $64,035 for 2024. But that's under your fund account. And there you see all kind of the adjustments that are needed. So other than that, we'll go through note 11. So note 11 is the long-term debt. So as a municipality, there's always often the fiscal service ratio we call, or how much principal and interest are being paid every year compared to your operating budget. And that's a ratio that you don't want it too high because you don't want already to be paying too much debt in percentage of your budget. So I calculated what your ratio is for 2024. So if you take your interest and debt payment as a percentage of your fund, your operating budget for the fund operating budget, you're at 2.46 for 2024. And you're at 2% in 2023. So it'll probably creep up higher as you kind of finalize the firewall, get all the funding and start making really payments on that moment. It's not all done, but you're still in a very good position. I think the province remains going to be under 20, and I usually see most municipalities probably are closer to 8, 12%. So you're in that position. So the other notes are just additional information that are added to your statements. Maybe in terms of your capital assets, as I've mentioned, the municipality purchased or invested 6.7 million. And to tell you kind of where that got funded, so there was almost 2.9 million that got funded as a loan. And then there was 922,000 that you expense in your operating fund. So your operating fund kind of took as an expense 922,000. That's not in your statement, it's just a reconciliation kind of that I do. And then you receive government grants for 2.8. So I guess your capital purchase were financed 3 ways: by a loan, by grants, and by your operating fund in 2024. And then I guess if you go to note 15, the reserve funds. So municipalities are allowed to have reserve funds. Your capital fund, there's no limit. Operating fund, there is a limit. You can always go up to 5% of the prior year budget. So if you look at your general operating fund, you have a balance of 95%, 95,000. So you're below what you could have put in. You can go up to 245,000. That would be your limit. And like I mentioned, the capital reserve fund, there's no limit. So at the end of the year, you had 1.138 million in the capital reserve, the general capital reserve fund, the 95,000 in the general operating reserve fund, and 717,000 in utility capital for a total of 1.95. And in that fund, there's always only the interest that earned and the transfer to me. So you'll notice note 15 is longer this year. The province has now that all the resolutions that are made are actually put in the financial statement. These are word for word what's in your minutes in 2024. And it's only for the transfers to and from the reserves. The other resolutions are not. And then note 16, this is for the utility fund. So you always have to put it back in your in your fund accounting, I guess. So here's a breakdown of the deficit again that will flow through your utility fund in the next few years. And in terms, maybe note 20, the segment for information. So here is where you'll see if everyone want to see how much shallows and benefits were paid, because they're often kind of listed in various schedules at the end. But you need to show how much was paid. So if you go note 20, at the bottom, the expenses, you'll see in salaries and benefits, you were at 1.3 million in 2024, and you were at 844,000 the year before. And the interest on long-term debt, you paid 82,310 this year, and you were at 26,000. And then the rest just gives more details on all the revenues and expenses that were presented in the statement of operations.
We need a motion if there's any questions or.
Yeah, we'll do the motion first.
We'll do a motion and then if there's any questions. So we have a motion to accept the audited financial statements.
There's a motion recommendation on the floor.
Recommended.
I'll move that council statements for the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2024 in principle and refer the matter to the July regular council meeting for official ratification.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Blinas, seconded by Councilor Grant.
Yeah.
Questions to the motion?
I just want to say, I think these financial statements look like a municipality that's like doing stuff, and that's awesome to see.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So just, I have a question. If, in terms of the average resident, they were looking at our financial statements and there's a lot, obviously, here. Would it be this number 20 would be the one that would be the most easiest for us to show in terms of how the financials look for 2024? I mean, without going through every single statement, as you conceivably could ask somebody, someone would say, well, how did we do it? What would we show?
A lot of you, usually the municipality talk about the surplus for the fund account.
Right.
Because if you start talking about the PSES surplus.
Well, that's why I was asking, I wanted to make sure that.
If you want to talk high level, I would show also how much we invested, like the 6 million in capital assets purchase. That's something that can be kind of sold to the residents. But for sure, they get confused if they just look.
Right.
Only 4 million with that.
Yeah, you know,
I think we'd want
It's
to
like
like,
presented, like
you might
those.
want to build something yourself and not anything in here.
and that's why I asked the question, because I thought it would be a good conversation to have in terms of,
The annual report basically
yeah.
is the best tool,
Okay.
Yeah, I know.
because even going through it makes, like, you understand the audit in sort of layman's terms.
So we take the numbers from the audit that are basically the general government year end, what was spent, and that goes into the annual report. That's easier for people to see because then they see pictures and things that happen that's under that service area versus a 38-page document that.
Well,
Another area, but debt ratio, if your community's not investing in your community, you would have a really low debt ratio. And that would show, to Stephanie's point around, this shows a community that is investing in the community too high, obviously means you're,
Right.
right, so there's that fine.
There's a fine line. I always say it's nice to be low, but at the same time, are you differing to
Right.
the future residents of Salford and stuff with all these infrastructure?
Right.
Okay, so. But I see you're kind of at 6 million this year.
Grant, how much was the grant? The grants for.
The grants were 2.8, and you can see the grants.
Huge.
That is huge.
Huge.
That's more than the village's operating.
I know. It's a big deal for staff.
Yeah.
It is.
Celebrating that we're going through.
Yeah.
That is a big one to.
Yeah.
To Harmony.
And then on page, if you're looking for the year end, Joe, for every area, it starts on page 30, well, 34 of the PDF, but 32 of the audit, right? That would be the other piece that is kind of reflective to what our budget looks like. That's as close as you get though, I think, for the general.
Expense, if they want to go to the detail, look at the schedule.
Yeah, for the average person, if they
Right.
are selling the client.
But again, that'll be on the annual report.
that'll be on the.
Yeah, the annual report is,
We'd
yeah.
have to explain what it means, what is in that department.
Well, that's great.
Any additional questions? So with that, all in favor? Reminded with our direction for the July council meeting.
And thank you.
Thank you very much. I think this is the last audit that we're gonna have this year.
Yeah, until next year.
Sorry, so she also did the RC. so. All right, thank you very much. And with that, then move on to item 4.2, a presentation on our banner program policy proposal. Hello, Ms. King.
I'm 3 from
for committee of the whole meeting, so I hope you're not sick of me yet. This evening to present the proposed visual art banner program that the Department of Recreation and Wellness will be taking on this fall, of course, so long as it gets. So during this presentation, I'm going to be giving an overview of the proposed program, running through the application and the process with that, as well as how that aligns with the timelines that we are proposing. I will briefly touch on some similar programs, specifically the municipality that I used as an example when I was writing the policy. And then I'm happy to open it up to questions and discussions. So first off, what is the Visual Art Banner Program? So the primary purpose of this program is to create a welcoming atmosphere, not only for the visitors who are coming into Salisbury, but to also heighten that sense of belonging and identity to the residents of Salisbury as well. We also have the secondary purpose of highlighting local artists and providing an opportunity for artists of all ages and skill level to submit an entry into this program. So for anyone who has been following the conversations with the Cultural Policy Development Committee, visual art and art in general help feed that sense of belonging and identity when you're talking about a region in particular, but the culture of a set environment as well. So that is kind of the premise of what the banner program will achieve. So Salisbury is no stranger to banner programs. We have seen a couple in our history before. First and foremost, we do have the Veteran Banner Program that is led by the Legion here in Salisbury. But we do support primarily with the installation of the banners. And as we know, that has a very positive, we've heard a lot of positive feedback when it comes to that one as well. We also introduced our own banner program last year when we were celebrating our Salisbury 250 year, which was a limited edition banner program that highlighted certain elements in Salisbury's history. And again, we heard a lot of positive feedback building on that identity and belonging piece as well. So that kind of gave us an idea of how to do or how to run a banner program, I guess, when it comes to creating the banners to install them as well. So when we talk about these submissions and what is eligible under this program, of course, it is a visual art banner program. So submissions under the following categories will be accepted. So we have photography, digital art, collage, painting and illustration, and print painting. So, of course, there are certain technical specifications that are outlined in the policy that I won't go too far into detail here, but just as an example, for something like photography, it has to be specific to the town of Salisbury. So all photo submissions must be of the town of Salisbury for it to be accepted. So all of the eligible submissions must align with the 10 themes that are chosen by the Community Enhancement Committee. So that is the committee that will be overlooking the approval and selection of themes and also the designs that are selected when the application period closes. So these 10 themes will represent Salisbury and the culture of Salisbury residents, again, decided by that committee. The submissions also must follow the technical specifications that are outlined in the policy. These are mainly just to make sure that it looks okay to be put on a banner. It's not too small and it won't be too grainy, but it will also fit the size of the banner that we are installing. And submissions must also be original, handmade, or created by the artist submitting the entry. So we want to prevent as much copyright as possible. And so the person who creates the design or takes the photo must be the one to submit the entry. On the other hand, I do want to touch on certain things that may be disqualified if they are submitted. So again, when the CEC is reviewing the submissions, if at any point they think it does infringe on copyright laws, they have the right to just disqualify that, as well as the use of artificial intelligence. So AI is big when it comes to making posters and pictures. So we want to prevent that as much as possible as well to really highlight the artists that are putting their time and effort into creating these. So if there is any submission that is suspected of AI, there will be procedures in place where we will talk to the artist, and if they cannot submit the working file of the submission, then it will be disqualified. And again, it must meet the technical specifications. Not that the artist would do anything wrong, but just because we want to make sure it looks good on the banner. And if it's too small, there's no way we can fit it onto the template. So in terms of timelines, I kind of worked backwards from that veteran banner program that we see go up during the Poppy campaign every year. So I wanted to line it up as much as we could to save us time and money. So if we work backwards from that, the application period would be open for approximately 3 weeks in September. Once that application period closes, we will meet with the Community Enhancement Committee, give them 1 week to review the submissions and the designs, and pick their 10, assigning one to each of the themes. Once that has been done, then the designs will be announced publicly and printing will start. Then we have a period of time to allot for the printing process and everything that goes into that. And then the banners will be installed once the veteran banners are removed in November. So the banners will remain up year round until the next batch of special event banners are installed. So in this case, we don't have anything in between, so they will stay up until the veteran banners are installed again the following year. I will note that there is a note at the bottom of that slide that says each intake, the banners that are submitted in each intake will remain up for about 3 years or until weathered. So if we have a really bad winter and after 2 years they don't look all that great, then we will remove them. But we will be building on this per year. So to start, we'll be starting with that first initial 10 themes this year. And then next year, those 10 will be installed again, but we will add another 10. So there's an intake every year till a maximum of 30 or 40 until that first intake then gets replaced once they're weathered after 3 years. So to touch briefly on some similar programs, I use the city of Richmond as a primary example. As you'll notice in CRF, they didn't have a specific policy really, but they did have a website that outlined their process. So they followed a very similar outline of using themes and then putting out a public call for submissions. If you look at their submissions or their winning entries, I guess, for 2025, there are a lot of photography submissions. As you'll see, even on this slide, 3 out of the 4 of them there are photography submissions. And again, that could just be that they received mostly photography, but we would hope to kind of expand and have an even number of artwork to photography to digital art, etc. So the City of Richmond does have a policy as it relates to banners, but it's more so a banner sponsorship policy and less on the art side of it, which is where ours is leading more towards. So that is all I have. Of course, the policy goes a little bit more into detail on those technical specifications, but this provided a nice overview, I hope. And I'm happy to open it up to discussions or questions that anyone may have.
We'll have the floor.
I'm moving to Salisbury. Do you want most?
Yeah,
Please.
I moved to Tatiana Salisbury. I move Salisbury. Approve visual arts banner program policy for official ratification at an upcoming meeting of council. Oh, that was a hard one to get it.
Moved by Councilor Banish, second by Councilor Colwell. Washington's presentation.
Love this. This is great. I'm curious about a few things that, just having been involved in a banner program selection process. Art can be very interesting. It's based on the person that's creating it. How are you planning to mitigate that? I guess, you have.
Yeah.
Submissions.
So this is a primary reason why we're bringing it to a committee for the evaluation of it. So it's not just a few of us that are sitting in a room looking at the submissions, picking which one we like the best. We can have a room full of residents who are there for the reason of enhancing the community. So we're hoping that they will take a glance at it and a view from that it's not just based on preference, but it's also specific to the culture of Salisbury and reviewing the application form that will go along with it to see if it really fits the theme that they're submitting.
We have a way that minors can have submissions by their parents, by guardians.
Yes, so it is open to all ages and all skill level. The only thing really that we would need specific permission from any parent or guardian is if it's a picture with people in it. So, I think that is outlined in a point in the policy where if there is a photograph submission and people, their identity, you can clearly make out. You need written permission from the person who is in the photo, and if it is a youth, then their parent or guardian must submit written permission that they can.
So it wasn't like a literal, you must submit it if you're the creator. It's the creator must be at least within.
Yeah, you need to have permission from anyone. Yeah, that's more specific if it is a photo where more people can be involved in the actual picture that is being submitted. If it comes to a drawing or like a painting, it would be the artist who would submit it. But there is no restriction on age or anything. We would probably get it from a parent because a lot of you don't have email for anything to send it to us. So in that regard, we would accept it that way, as long as the artist's name is attached to the application.
I just have two, are you considering like the grad bakers as like, or,
They don't go on the same.
or gonna be on the set of these?
They'll be on our, like, our banner, like, what are those called? Pole runs, banner runs, banner runs.
Lastly, I just a point of like reference, and obviously the committee has decided and can decide, but the AI, I have a bit of a, it's different, right? Like we can take multimedia now, we can take graphic design, AI is a huge part of people's seeing and careers in general, so just, I don't know, just a point of reference, just maybe a little like, depending on how deep it is, could be something to consider.
Yeah.
If it is an interesting, cool kind of submission that.
And the whole point of that point is to allow the artists who are doing it for the art and hand painting and hand drawing their submissions to have the opportunity to show their dedication and their time. Whereas if someone just goes on ChatGPT and says, design me a submission for a banner program for the town of Salisbury, New Brunswick with this theme, that's not really fair to the people who start. Yeah.
That's just one of them. There's a lot of professional uses. I'm just like, be open to it a little bit if it when it
I
comes.
think every year we're bringing that to the CEC, but also the Cultural Policy and Development Committee. Who will in turn, someday, once the Cultural Policy is done, it'll become our Cultural Committee.
Yeah.
We'll bring that up to both groups. And I've already talked to Michael about this specifically in one of our meetings. Even though you're part of that conversation, but quite a few people in that committee agreed that as much as it could be used in the future for art, beautiful as the art might be, we want to reward skill, technique, nuance, rather than being able to prompt well.
That's
That's where we're at right now. It might change, but that's kind of where both committees stand.
perfectly fair. That's all.
So you also, George.
Do I understand it correctly that we're only putting up 10 banners or multiples of?
For this year, so we'll start with that 10 themes, and then those 10 will be reinstalled next year with an additional 10. So that will be up to the CEC as it relates to themes. Whether they want to duplicate those themes or add a few new ones, take a few out, that'll be up for them to decide, but we'll add to it every year.
What's the cost to produce?
It depends on who we go with, really. So part of this process would be securing whatever production company we want to go through.
Are they like $50 a piece? $20? 200?
200.
So we've allocated 5,000 for this program. And we're probably going to spend about 250 or 2,500 off of it.
Yes, we've already got the brackets. That's the best.
And then we also indicated that there will be a monetary prize given to the winners of, from the select.
That was my favorite part in your policy. That was, because I could just picture a small kid with their like $50 gift card or check into their banner. Like, how cute is
Yeah, you mentioned the BC Is the banners though will have a standardization from
Yeah.
because I do remember in the past where the community did some banners. This was many years before council. The banners were lovely, but they were done by students. And by that, when visitors came into the community, they didn't really know what they were. They didn't realize they were produced by students. There was no town logo on them. There was nothing indicating it was done by students. And by that, lovely for the parents and the individual that they knew they did it, but other individuals who were coming into town, very confusing. Like, what are these? And did somebody just ran it? But having a standard template, identify what they are, I think it's going to be really important.
It has to look good from a distance. You
Right.
can't-
Right, exactly. That's,
I remember those student ones, sometimes you have to pull over and actually get in.
yeah, and that's what, I was trying to be kind, because I know a lot of the kids that did them and they're beautiful, but this is a reflection of our community. I think we want to set them up for success as well, and that whatever we do, it should be standardized so that there's consistency across the board. Yeah, and just on top of this, I guess my question, obviously, these are great, but we used to have the Village of Salisbury banners in different places. Are we going to be adding those in some different spots as well, along with some standardized Canada Day and some
Like
different things?
generic, you mean?
Some generic to fill it in.
Yeah.
Because that's what we had before as well, because obviously you want to stagger them and you want to create that sense of a community as well.
Yeah, and I mean, depending on the submissions that we get when reviewing them, if we do have additional budget, we can look at doing the generalized ones in addition, using the submissions that we get. If there's a photography submission or something like that, that we can all agree represents the community well, we can look at doing a generic one.
I know you said that the grad photos are not on the brackets, so should we be considering that as part of the special events though? Because you're gonna have a grad banner, a post and a banner and a flower. And you,
I think last year the 250 banners and the grad banners overlapped and there was no issue with it, so I don't see it being an issue of like disrupting or.
Right?
It takes coordination. Yeah. it's
Yeah.
coordination.
Trying to put up.
Yeah,
we're just doing some put them on there. Oops,
More expensive.
Yeah.
looks nicer though.
Okay.
in person.
Additional?
Trade program.
Very
Good job.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. We don't have to accept anything or.
We already did.
We did the motion, we did the question. but-
Oh, on the
So,
question.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aren't reminded, put your direction.
Yeah.
All right, thank you very much. Moving on to item 4.3, just a quick RSC update from me. Thank you. Just quickly, I guess at the beginning of June, an AGM was held with the RSC where we had a similar presentation of audit and financial statements and all that wonderful stuff. So that was well. You'll all be receiving a package if you already haven't around committees that during the annual general meeting, we formed a governance committee at the Regional Service Commission. The vice chair, Mayor LeBlanc from Riverview, will be heading that up. They're going to be going through tomorrow night all the committees that we have for the Regional Service Commission, ensuring that all seats or positions are filled. And in some cases, if they're not filled, they will reach out to councillors across the communities to fill those seats. Along with, there'll be an application to fill in on, experience and why people are applying for that. That's going to be coming. I know that I think a note came up, but maybe not. If you haven't received it yet, it will be up for tomorrow night. And I sent everybody just a quick article on the Shoreline Trail because as well at our last meeting, we had a group come in and talk about naming of the trail in the future. Obviously, not just having it called the Shoreline Trail. Each area could have distinctive names and distinctive feels. Obviously, Salisbury, Petty, Kodiak are later on in this trail, doing along the coastline first, but that's something coming along with sponsorships as well. That's one of the biggest things will happen in this region. So I just wanted you to be aware that things are starting to kick off with that. And that's pretty well what I have. And some, I guess, in the next package, you put those in the next package as well. I'll ask them with any.
Yeah, we can. Yeah.
Yeah, like at our next, we'll have a meeting tomorrow night. Anything we have from that meeting, we'll include in the next package for you guys.
The next meeting.
Yeah, yeah.
The article and video that were really good, actually.
Yeah.
And it would be a good thing to post on our own Facebook site, even though it's still gonna be a while. I thought that, the guy who was interviewed.
Mark.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought he did a really good job.
He did.
Yeah.
And Mark has been instrumental, for instance, kudos to the trail system we have in Salisbury that, 10 or 12 years ago, quite a while ago. He put a lot of that together and or a vision on it. And,
There's a picture of him on the cover of our annual report this year.
You know what I mean? I'm sorry.
there you go. Okay. You go to get better than that, video. Okay, so with that, we're gonna move on to item 4.4, supplementary agreement, residential subdivision agreement number 3.
So,
I should say, is there any questions on the RSC? Sorry. Okay, thank you. Go ahead, Nelson.
so this is a formality more than anything that accounts, as council knows, we have residential subdivision agreement number 3, which is the extension of Bendy Drive. As part of that, or for any street for that matter, we need a surety bond, or basically a deposit, you can think of it as, for the construction of the road. The developer has asked that it be done through the contractor, which is fine and is standard practice. It's just that we need to be able to be entered into an agreement between all 3 parties if ever we need to call the bond, I should say, not issue the bond. So if, for example, this, the project that's being done next to it, when that tender closes, we get a bid bond from all the contractors to secure their bid, and we get a performance bond before they do the work. So it's a standard practice. It's just that we tender that work and we're able to call the bond. So in this case, we just need authorization to be able to do that. And as a formality, we want to make sure that it goes through council's piece. So the agreement basically becomes an attachment of a schedule to the existing agreement, which just reflects that there's an existing subdivision agreement. This contractor has been retained for the work. The town will accept the bond from the contractor themselves, and then the town reserves the exclusive right to determine when the street is completed, which is based on what's outlined in the subdivision agreement. And then if ever that does not happen, we can call the bond from the contractor. So generally we do this at a regular council meeting, but we've been going back and forth, and they are ready to start, because the next phase of the project, they're on the 2nd floor of the first building now, so they're getting ready to complete the water study components for the next piece, which needs the road. So they're eager to get started. So we're bringing it here for direction this evening, at least, to allow us to determine if something else is needed instead. So with that recommendation on the floor, and then
I move that council approve the supplementary agreement for the purposes of accepting a surety bond for residential subdivision agreement number 3 in principle for official ratification at the July council meeting, the agreement being between the town of Salisbury, Michaud Capital Corp. and Sussex Excavators 2010 Limited.
Seconded.
So moved by Councillor Tory, seconded by Councillor Blount. Questions? Seeing no questions, all in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded, none, you have your direction. All right, so moving on to item 4.5, Councillor Tory and I had a discussion later last week, and I suggested he come forward to council this evening, and he's going to make a statement, followed by, I will say a couple of words, and go from there.
So, thank you. It won't come as a surprise to you, because I haven't been trying to hide it. No reason to. Our house was up for sale for what seemed like forever. And we had many people going through it. And the day before we were going to take it off the market, we got an offer that we accepted. So,
Congratulations.
thank you. So it's with Mixed Emotions that obviously many of you know, and if you don't, we are going to be moving, downsizing significantly from a fairly large property and a large house to one of the apartments of Three Sisters in London. So we moved in 2009 with 5 kids, and 2 that came from time to time because they were away. And now it's just my wife and I and my mother-in-law who's with us. So this place is way too big for us. It's unfortunately, there's just no way we can manage it anymore. And we're not exactly getting any younger either. And so at the end of the day, we took this opportunity. We thought it was a good opportunity to look to downsize. And so as of The closing date is on July the 30th. We take possession of the apartment on July 1st, so there'll be a lot of things going back and forth during that time. You know, I'd like an opportunity maybe at the next meeting to extend some thanks to each one of you individually, if that's okay, whether it's in public or closed. Not a lot of time these days because I have daughters getting married this weekend. It's taken up a whole bunch of time. A retreat that Deb and I are giving the following weekend, and then we're trying to sell our house or move from our big house to our apartment during all this time. So we've been going crazy over the last little while. Haven't had much time to sit down and just put some thoughts together that I feel I really want to do. Because I greatly respect every single person who's here. I've learned a lot from everyone. You are and always will be in my prayers every day. And I hope for the best for this town. I think amazing work has been done. You just can look at it from all kinds of different perspectives, the financials and all the changes that have come about and the ones that will be coming about. So all to say is July 30th will be my last official day. And I'd like to thank all of you right now. More to come from that perspective. Thank all of our residents and the staff who are amazing. And I'll be posting something on my Facebook site so that people know this is the case. And as I said, I look forward to being able to take some time and at our next meeting and just say a proper thank you to everyone. So that's it.
So obviously, I received a letter of resignation from Councillor Torre with the dates, which again, he is not done yet. And by that, we will have to do an official motion to accept that letter at the next council meeting. But staff will have that in hand to discuss that. But obviously, mixed emotions, I think, as Councillor Torre's indicated. I'll have a lot more to say at the next meeting as well, but Joe and I had the opportunity to navigate the business world prior to ever coming to the town of Salisbury and doing work here. And when he retired from RBC, we went to lunch the day after he retired from RBC. And I remember saying to him, our paths will cross again. Never in my wildest dreams did I ever imagine that we would be working together on amalgamations and reform and all of the things that we had to do. I can certainly say, and I'll have more to say next month, but this council, this town could not have formed and gone through amalgamation without your leadership, Joe. When I approached Joe to run as an LSD councillor, I was not looking for somebody to be a yes person. I was not looking for somebody to follow and go through motions and just do things to make it easy on me or the former village. I wanted somebody that would hold us accountable, that would ask tough questions, that would bring the diligence that I knew Joe did from the business world. And we're a better community today because of Councillor Torre and his hard work, diligence, and always holding us accountable, because that's what was needed. And again, I'll say more later, but we owe you a debt of gratitude. And obviously, we love you and your family. And again, across, as I told you when we chatted last week, I am confident it may not be at this, but it'll be some volunteering for a not-for-profit somewhere in the southeast that we will definitely be working together again. So with that, nothing we can accept or not tonight, but we love you and thank you.
Thank you.
All right, well, I wanted to do that before close because essentially we wanted to ensure that, again, we didn't want anybody driving by Joe's house, but some people did. Seeing signs and stuff, so we didn't. I know, but that's gonna start questions, right? So we wanted to ensure, as Joe said, this is not a secret. This is a celebration for Joe and his family. There's so many great things around that. We all look forward to that day when we can do that as well. I was hoping it was gonna be a little while longer because I did tell them they still plan on talking him into trying to run it. So with that, I guess we will have to have a motion to go into closed.
So moved.
So by Councillor Bannister, second by Councillor Thorne. Questions to the motion? All in favor? Aye. All right, so we've got a motion. We're back into the regular council session. With that, we'll move on to item number 6, mayor and councillor statements. I have nothing. Does anyone else have anything to say?
I think congratulations to the graduates, because I know Mayor Campbell and our CAO gave some wonderful speeches, and a few of us were there to present some things, and it's a beautiful ceremony.
It was.
Yeah, it was probably the nicest one I've ever.
It's very nice.
Yeah,
Well done. Speeches were awesome.
We gave out 3 bursaries as well from the town as well, so we'll.
Was a lot of money given, 165,000.
Yeah.
I think it's great total.
Wow, that was great.
Some smart
Great
kids.
picture, yeah.
So-
Yeah, phenomenal, really.
All right, well, thank you very much for that. And with that, any additional, yes?
No, I just wanted to move to adjourn.
No speeches? No speeches? All right. Okay, Councilor Thorns, firsted, and seconded by Councilor Bannister. All in favor? Aye. Contrary minded, motion carried. We are adjourned.